Hello, Serge here for the Backyard Driving Range. I think I'm going to hold on to the club because, again, we're not going to do a letter today. I'm just going to talk about some of the things I've seen in a lot of golf lessons and especially in golf schools that I think are either, I think you Sergeites understand it, but you're just not fully aware of possibly what we're talking about in this. So I want to bring this up on this topic about a square club face and really give you an explanation of what it is, so hopefully that you can check to make sure that your club face is square before every swing, okay? And why is that important? Well, because we know that the physics of hitting a golf ball, as you've heard me say, hopefully at least 10,000 times, is that a club has to approach the ball. This is my club face. Approach the ball on the aiming line. This is my aiming line towards the target. I'm hopefully keeping this aimed at the camera, which is the target today, always when I'm doing these dailies. Club has to approach the ball on the aiming line. The club face has to strike the ball and be square on the aiming line at impact. It has to leave on the aiming line, and then it has to hit the ball solid in the sweet spot while doing the first three. As you know, I call that on, square, and solid. Now that's, as you heard me say again 1,000 times, 10,000 times, and I'm going to keep saying it. That was the part of the results of a scientific study by a gentleman named Dr. Alistair Cochran, and it was published in a book he wrote called The Search for the Perfect Golf Swing, published about 1962, and that was when the first chapter, in the first page of the first chapter in the right-hand column, it was called What Happens to the Good Golf Shot. 4 things. The club has to approach the ball on the aiming line, strike it on the line and be square, leave on the line accelerating, and hit a solid and sweet spot while doing the first 3. On, square, and solid. But guess what? I don't see very many people hitting it square and solid. And part of it is because most golfers are not starting with a square club face. All right, so let's talk about what a square club face is. You've heard me talk about in making the H, okay, that when we're going to have, when we do talk about alignment. And this has a great influence on alignment, I think. It has a plays a really important part of making sure that the club face is lined up. If a square club face can help better alignment. All right, so I'm going to set these down here, and I'm going to try to get this line right here aimed at the target, which will be the camera. Okay. Now I'm just a little bit left of it here. That should be pretty close to good, I think. All right, just about. That should be real close. So, when I talk about making the H, you find your spot, you walk in, and you take your 90-degree quarter circle over to here, and you put your foot at a right angle to this, and you put the club up in the air, and you set your face square. I'm going to turn around and show you this from the other view. Then I find my spot, I put the club down square to it. Then from the club face, I draw this line, which is my ball position, and then I bring this foot and that foot to the line in a 1-2 step, right? 1-2. All right? The big key is the square club face. And I struggle with this too. And now, if you're playing what we call offset golf clubs, which means the shaft is quite a bit ahead of the leading edge of the face, this becomes even more critically important. But what it is you have to stand here. And when I stand over here and I take my setup when I reach this position, I'm lifting the club up. In most cases, I lift it up in my right hand only, and I put it. And as you see, what I do, I take it and I cock the club, so to speak, and point it at my left hip. From where it went, from now my right hand, which is down near my left hip, is going to come up and just slide on that golf club, so that we have the left arm and shaft in line. All right, that's critical, because at that point, that means if I do this, the left arm and shaft is in line, and the hands are slightly ahead of the ball. So the big thing I'm always looking at is that I like to see that and from my vision, it looks like the V of my right hand here is always dead in line with the ball. All right, it's not ahead of it and it's not behind it. So again, most golfers are taught to grip the club pointing at your belt buckle. All right, if you do that, your forward wrist is always cupped. It's already cupped before it starts. Your hands, you're not going to have the club head being able to lead the hands away from, lead the club back going in the takeaway. Even though I start everything, if I maintain my angles when I start it, my club is leading my hands going back. All right, so if the club head's leading and then I transition, the hands are leading coming back, I got an action-reaction. All right, the club head kind of led away, all the one unit going away. Then when the unit comes back down this way, this side, the hands are leading, pulling through. So action, reaction. So we're always staying within the laws of physics. But the big thing I think a lot of people is even if you got your face square with your feet, when your hands are too far back, the face is eventually going to come back too shut. And to try to get in the mitt and up the tree is going to be a major rotation, too much. Later in the swing, when it's moved, the hands and arms are moving, there's very likely going to be a bigger kind of over rotation and flip. So we don't want that. We want everything to stay the same. So that's really critical in terms of maintaining the square club face. Now a club face is square when the leading edge is perpendicular to the ground. Okay. So if I stand here and let me lift up this bar right here. A lot of times, and I've started doing this test when I'm doing schools and with lessons, especially at schools. I go up to a golfer and I'm going to check their, you already heard me talk about, I check their, I take your grip and set like you're ready to go, and I'm standing in front of them and I put my hand out like this and I say, pick the club up and put it in my hand. And I start twisting it or pulling it. And I'm going to say at least 60 to 70% of all the golfers have too light a grip. And if it's too light in both hands, and if not, at least the majority of them have too light in the bottom hand. And then I've always said, right, the grip pressure has to be equal in both hands so that they can move together at the same speed, and whatever they're doing it equally together. All right? So we want that equalness. But a square club face means that if you draw a straight line down from the leading edge, it is at 90 degrees to the ground. And yet, what do I see? Normally when I do this with folks, I say, okay, now after I check the grip pressure, I come and I stand behind them, all right? And so the golfer's right in front of me, right here. And so I said, okay, take your grip again. And while they're standing here like this with the club gripped, I'm going to stand behind them a little bit over here, and I'm going to reach in, and I'm going to take this shaft right here, and I'm going to say, okay, just let me lift your arms. And I'm going to lift the arms up, and when I look at them, and I get to this point, this is what I see 90–95% of the time. What do I see here? I'm going to pull that back in. What do you see? The club face is not vertical to the ground. It's tilted forward. It is shut. And when I say to them, when I see that it's up there and I see that club face shut, I say to the student, remember, I'm still standing behind him. I'm holding their hand up in the air here because I'm going to make sure they're not going to go like that on me. I'm saying, there you are. I just took your hands and I raised it up with nothing moving. I did all the lifting. All right? And my hand's still on this club, and I say, what's that? And you know what they all say to me? 90% of them, it's shut. So they know it's shut, but yet they don't visualize it's shut. They don't see that it's shut on the ground. So that's why I think it's critical. And I know for myself that one of the things that used to cause it is when I walked into the golf ball, as you heard me say, I only have about, when I'm walking in and doing all this stuff and a couple of my waggles, I only have about 70% of my grip pressure. It's when I get done my waggle and my hands go down, I have that three-piece takeaway you've heard me talk about. The first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to go, boom, I'm going to set my grip pressure. I'm going to set my grip pressure totally. I'm going to go from that 70 to total engagement. My knees go wide, and then I start the club, and it just goes that fast, bang, 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 that fast. All right? So I got that three-piece movement engagement. But I found that sometimes when I had my 70 degrees and I finally squeezed my hands upward, that the club face was turning in on me. And the thing that I finally figured that out was I was tending to lay the club too far into close to my palm. And instead of being in the crimp of my right hand, it was laying more in the finger, at the joint where the fingers join the palm. And so when I squeezed it from that, when I squeezed up on that face, it tended to move it. So now if I really concentrate tremendously in making sure that I'm only laying it in the crimp, which is in the middle joint. All right, so now when I squeeze up in that middle joint, it doesn't change the face. But many golfers, I don't think are consciously watching the face enough here and making sure that when they come down here, they don't do any change in their arms or their shoulders or whatever that can shut the club. But many of them, as I said, when I pick them up, the club face is shut. Now just think about it. If I walk in here and I have a shut club face at this point, and I look at the target and I want to now make this shut club face, I look at the target, I want to make this shut face square, what do? My hands start going like this. Now if my hands start going like that, all right, now I finally say, okay, that's square. Now what just happened? That's just changed my line let me put my toe line back here. So you're going to see what's going to happen here. Okay? If I was here, which technically I'm starting with my club face over there, all right? And now I go like that, I can now spin all of this back this way, and now I'm out to the right. All right? So a square club face can fake you into walking in right, because if it's already shut up here, when you walk into the ball and get it down here, and if you draw a pretty good line, it looks like it's left of the target, so you say, okay, I got to get it on the target. Look what I'm doing. I'm moving out that way. All right? So then compound it with, as you've heard me talk about 1,000 times, 10,000 times, with the eyes, mess things up, because we see one line this way and here, we're diagonally left, and the tendency is to aim right because of the optical illusion that's involved. All of this is found on the Ultimate Alignment video. And I talk about the square club face there also. That's a great video. I think that's probably one of the best videos we have. And because, as you know, I say alignment, alignment, alignment. 90 to 95% of all swing problems arise out of alignment, right? So, and alignment starts with a square club face. And if you got offset golf clubs, and all of you that have them know what you got, know what it is, it's even more critical to make sure that club face is square. Because why? What's the concept of offset? It's the shaft comes in a little sooner and gives you a little bit more chance to square the club face up. Well, if your club face was already closed when you started, by the time you're getting impact, it's already closed, and so there's a tendency you're going to be hitting pulls, which is going to make sure that to stop the pull, you're going to end up coming through and holding on and opening up even more, which opening up tightens up the muscles and it comes out of the shot. You're going to start hitting them very thin and to the right a lot. And then after you get tired of that and you finally release the club one time and the next time or something, and it goes to, and your arms straighten out more, now you're bringing in possibly chunking the ball and over rotating and pulling and hooking. So that's where you get that army golf, you know, left, right, left, whatever. Okay? So, but the club face is critical because it's the whole key to on, square and solid. And we know that is important from everything from putting all the way up to the driver and everything in between. All right? So check your club face out. Your club face, when you come up, it must be the leading edge of your golf club, and the stint should be dead perpendicular to the ground in your position. And from there, you go straight down from there, and you walk in, and you got to make sure that in your grip and anything you do, your body can change it. Just if you open your body, like people who tend to look at the target, they look up like this. What do? They look like this. They get their back arm high, the club face. Even if the face was square at this point, if they leave their arm there and their shoulders there, the face is shut relative to their target. At address, it's going to very likely return to that place. Okay? Because it's going to come back shut because the backside is high. All right? So club face is critical. You have to start really paying attention to it and really making sure that it doesn't change, whether you squeeze your grip a little bit more or whatever, or that you don't change your hand position, that you can make it either go open or shut. Start with a square club face. It's got a lot better chance of being returned to square at impact. All right? Well, that's it for the search for today on the importance of a square club face in your address position, in your grip and your address position. Have it there. You got a lot better chance of getting it there at impact. All right? Start with it there. It's got a better chance of returning to square at impact. And square is the only way at impact, is the only way you can have on, square and solid. Hit the ball relatively straight and solid, which is going to definitely hit better shots in play more consistently to help you shoot those lower scores. That's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking with you all again soon.